We are slaying monsters.
Don't let the ghosts and the ghouls disturb you, darling.
You know how, like, you're looking up a recipe for, like, chocolate chip cookies or something like that, right? You just want something, and you find the website, and first you have to read, like, 10 paragraphs about this person and the trip that they went on, or like weird memories of their Nana or something like that. And you scroll and scroll, and then you have a whole description of how to make the thing before they actually give you the recipe. But they feel like they need to go through each meticulous detail of, first, I take out a stick of butter, and then I melt it a little bit, and I put it in a bowl. Then you mix it. Like, all of this shit. This is basically what's been going on throughout this entire series, because there are people that I'm sure have tuned in and they're like, I want a recipe for a zombie poison. And I'm like, well, first, we need to talk about the history of Haiti and the Haitian Revolution. And they're like, oh man, just get to the damn zombie recipe.
You cannot skip to the recipe. I'm sorry.
You cannot skip to the recipe. But let me tell you, when people do that and let you skip down to the recipe, bless them. They know what the people want.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. It should just be upfront. See, I should have, at the beginning of episode 1, I should have been like, okay, to make your own zombies, here's what you need.
You could go back in and insert it and be like, at the beginning of episode 1, you can be like, if you really don't care about any of this, skip to episode 3, minute, whatever it ends up being.
Yes.
Well, this is the episode. On this episode today, we are going to finally get to how to make your own zombie. I will give you the recipe to do it.
Yay.
Woohoo!
But please don't make your own zombies. Please.
No, I also remain skeptical that any of this is real. So
The funny thing is, like, even though I'm maybe a little bit apprehensive about giving this over, I'm also not sure that most of the people who listen to this podcast are going to have things like fugu fish and poisonous cane toads and human skulls just, like, lying around their house.
You can get anything on the dark web, Matt.
I mean, I guess so.
that's exactly what I was going to say, EJ. See, this is why EJ and I are here together.
We're here to set Matt straight. It's the reality of the world.
Well, I also think that if you just happen to have human skulls and fugu fish lying around, you probably already know how to make a zombie.
Probably.
Yeah.
You don't
Or
need
you've
us.
looked into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say you have one of those books like in Hocus Pocus with the giant eye on the front.
Yeah,
Oh my
exactly.
God, I loved that book. That was a cool book.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. We had a big family Bible, and I like to pretend that was the book. It was a giant family Bible with, like, weird, like, velvet cover and, like, weirdness on it. And I was thinking, like, this is the witch book. Because it was, like, big and weird looking, like the Necronomicon.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Did you write all your family names in it? Like births and deaths?
No, it was just an old Bible. It was just like like from the 1800s or something. So no, that's not anywhere. Yeah. Hey, guess what? We're slaying monsters.
Guess what?
We got Maddie J across the table.
Yo.
And we've got Katie.
Hello.
And I'm EJ. And yes.
And I just want to say for our listeners that I'm away from my home. So if you hear weird sounds or something, I apologize. I cannot control what's happening.
Katie, we're sending Katie on special assignment after cryptids. So
Yes.
I expect full reports.
Actually,
Yeah.
there was, so I'm on vacation, as I said. So we get we get magazines and papers to read around the pool and stuff. And my partner got the local sort of version of the New York Post, like a trash paper to read. And the front story is about a UFO. So I have to read it later today.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
UFO spotting in the region.
Yes.
Go after it, Katie. Go find it.
I know.
I want a full report.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Amazing. And we are talking about zombies today, part 3.
Yes, not UFOs. We're talking about the zombies of Haiti and how to make your own. So
Do not try it at home.
try it at a friend's home.
Yeah. So you can blame
Legal
them.
disclaimer.
Yes.
Not that we have any lawyers, but
Yes.
All right, so when we last left ethnobotanist Wade Davis, he was in Haiti on the trail of a zombie poison. His mentor, psychiatrist Dr. Nathan Klein, believed that there was a drug that could create a state very similar to death in patients. In fact, Klein believed that Clervius narcisse, an alleged zombie, had been the victim of just such a poisoning. Now, as a botanist himself, Davis had his own opinions about the alleged zombie poison. He suspected that it was a concoction made from datura, a highly poisonous flowering nightshade. That plant had been linked with spiritual communication and death rites in several different Native American tribes, like the Zuni and the Algonquin. Careful ingestion could cause hallucinations and was often used as a way to initiate vision quests or altered states of consciousness. It can be applied topically, too. The Yaqui people in Mexico would actually create a salve of it and apply it to their feet, and it gave them the feeling that they were flying.
Cool.
Yeah.
what a weird trip to take.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I guess you couldn't feel the ground. Like you were moving, but you couldn't feel the ground under your feet.
I
And so
love
it felt
that.
like you were flying.
Sounds wonderful.
Oh, that sounds so cool.
Yeah. Datura was also used in Africa, too, as a way of enhancing alcoholic beverages and teas. A little bit like absinthe, right? The Efik people of Nigeria used it as a truth serum. And they would have an accused person drink a tea made from datura and then walk 10 paces. Because it paralyzes you. So as the paralyzing effects of this drug start to set in, it could be fatal before you even make 10 paces. And they believe that an innocent person would vomit up the drug, whereas a guilty person would fall dead. And so if you made
Oh my God. That's the kind of shit like the witch trials.
Yeah.
I mean,
Totally, yeah.
in Holy Grail, when they're like,
Yeah.
is she going to float? Is the rock going to float or not? It's like, that's not how it works, though.
A duck.
A duck.
But yeah, so then if you made it to the finish line, they would give you the antidote, and you were determined to be innocent, and so you were fine.
Ugh.
It's like a weird, sick version of Russian roulette.
A little bit.
It's like, hey, we're just gonna pull this trigger, and if you don't die, we're gonna assume that God intended you to live, and therefore you're innocent.
Well,
Yeah.
it also makes me wonder if there were people like the Princess Bride style that you're like, I have built up an immunity to datura. Therefore, I can commit whatever crimes I want.
I'm such a criminal that I am immune to it.
So in his preliminary research, Davis had even found a particular strain of datura, that is datura stramonium, was colloquially called the zombie cucumber. Now, you might have heard of this too. It's called the devil's trumpet. Convinced that this was at least partially the origin of the zombie drug, Davis arranged a meeting with psychiatrist Lamarque Douillon in Haiti. Douillon was the doctor who originally studied the zombie Clervius narcisse. And he had also studied under Nathan Klein, remember. So he has a pretty robust understanding of pharmacology as well as native Haitian mythology. But Clervius wasn't the first quote-unquote real zombie that Douillon studied. In 1979, he'd been summoned to Savigny-Carry, where a reported zombie had been returned to her family. That woman was Francina Ilias. In 1976, she had been rushed to San Miguel La Talaya Hospital, but she was complaining of stomach problems. And she had nausea, she had weakness. The doctors treated her and they released her, but then she died a few days later at home and was buried in the village's cemetery. Okay? 3 years after her death and burial, Ilias's mother found her in a local market. She was pale, gaunt, trembling, and in some type of like psychological distress. She was having trouble. She didn't know who she was. She was having trouble figuring out what was going on around her. She couldn't really process information. Every response that she gave to questioning was slow and stunted, as if she was trying to think through cobwebs. She didn't have a home. She had been living in the streets. Nobody really claimed her. She didn't respond to her name, but she did respond to T femme, or small woman, little woman. Strangely, her mother was unwilling to take Ilias back. And so she was put in care of a missionary until Du Yong could examine her. So he went and he examined her, and he found that, sure, she has impaired motor function and difficulty walking. And while she could speak and understand concepts, it was always with difficulty. She seemed like in a constant mental fog. Du Yong saw this as a real-life case of zombieism, and he started to interview her family. Her mother went on record saying, "That's my daughter," and said that she recognized her because of a childhood scar on her forehead. Du Yong pulled her death record and found it had been authored by the local magistrate, not a doctor. Now, that's unusual, but it's not entirely out of the question in Haiti.
Yeah, if she died at home in a small village, I feel like I see where that could be possible without being too suspicious, right?
Yeah, it was fairly common at the time that you would just have a magistrate, a judge, or someone come pronounce you dead. You didn't necessarily need a doctor or a coroner to do it. Yeah.
But, you know, when it comes to medical stuff, what does a magistrate or a judge really know about the state of death in a human body?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you could check for a pulse and breathing, but what are you doing besides that, really?
Right. Also, the logical conclusion to jump to here is that maybe this woman is the daughter, but maybe the death certificate was wrong. Maybe she wasn't the one who died. And so Du Yong ordered to have her grave disinterred. But when they opened the coffin, they found that it was full of rocks.
Oh my God.
What?
Yes. Her death had been faked, and her body had been removed. So who had done it and why?
Wait, hold on. I need to back up a little bit, which is, so her mother found her in the market.
Right.
When she was sick and she went to the hospital and then went home to her home and died.
Right.
Theoretically.
Mm-hmm.
Who was with her when she died? Was her mother there?
I believe so.
Like, were other
Yes.
people there?
Yeah.
Because obviously her mother didn't fake her death. Because her mother,
You would think.
I don't know, unless her mother sold her. Like,
So,
I don't know. Now I'm going to some dark places.
No.
But
I mean, you're. Cause it's a conversation that you kind of have to have, though, because if she had her death witnessed, had her death signed off on by someone, even if it's just a magistrate, but somebody was there in authority and said, yes, this person is dead. She was put in a coffin. She was put in the ground. And then 3 years later, you dig up the coffin. It's full of rocks and you find her alive. What the heck happened in those intervening 3 years? And why did this whole thing start to begin with? Du Yong is determined to get to the bottom of this mystery. And he started interviewing locals about Ilias. He found that she had been offered marriage by a local man, a claimed bokor or sorcerer. We talked about them in the last episode. Ilias's mother had arranged the marriage, but her daughter refused to marry the man. Allegedly, he turned her into a zombie to finally have her as his wife. But how she escaped him and the intervening 3 years were a complete void in her mind.
It's interesting to me that she was complaining about stomach pains before she kind of like, quote, died. Sounds like it could have been a poisoning.
yeah, I was thinking about that too. I mean, this thought went away after the crazy story of her grave being full of rocks. But It also sounds like the way that you're describing her sounds like a drug addict, like someone who's addicted to a hard drug. I don't know. I was curious about that too as an explanation for what's going on. I mean, yeah.
Right. A hard drug that maybe causes an altered state of consciousness and perhaps has hallucinogenic effects, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
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 Most hard drugs
Yeah.
are like that,
Exactly.
I feel like.
Exactly,
Yeah.
though. Hold that thought, Katie.
Okay.
So Douillon took Ilias into his care at Port-au-Prince, where he continued to study her. He was completely baffled by all of this, and it started him on a lifelong track of trying to unravel zombie myths and the legends in Haiti. Which is why when a man calling himself Clairvius Narcisse showed up and claimed, "I've been a zombie for 2 decades," Douillon jumped at the chance to investigate him, too. Narcisse's story, which we've talked about a little bit, was remarkably similar to Ilias's, enough to convince the doctor that there's a pattern going on here. So Douillon told Davis that after he had treated these 2 zombies, Narcisse and Ilias, he had transported them to a local Baptist mission. The leader there agreed for Davis to interview them himself. And so, once again, the American ethnobotanist enlisted his teenage translator, Rachel, and they set off across the island, this time to meet some zombies face to face.
I'm now worried that this guy, like, has something going on with Rachel that I don't want to know about.
I do not.
And
I do not mean to imply that. There is apparently no evidence that anything like that happened. It's just always a little bit weird to me that this guy showed up within like a week or two, is just driving this teenage girl around, and for some reason her dad's like, "Yeah, sure, why not?"
Different times, though. What was
Different
this, the
times.
70s?
This is the 80s.
Very different times.
Early 80s.
very different
yeah.
times.
So Davis interviewed Narcisse first, and he described him as a robust, balding man in very good physical shape despite all the trauma that he's gone through. Narcisse showed him a scar on his right cheek, and he said, "This is from when one of the nails in the coffin was driven in. It pierced my cheek, and I couldn't do anything about it." He'd been conscious the entire time, but he was paralyzed. He described the sensation as floating above his body and claimed that that was his soul, his tibonage from the last episode. He said, "Even as they cast dirt on my coffin, I was not there. My flesh was there, but I floated here, moving wherever. I could hear everything that happened. Then they came. They had my soul. They called me, casting it into the ground." He remembered hearing drums, or what sounded like drums, and then he was grabbed, bound, and dragged away. He was forced to walk for hours through the night before being handed off to another man who he didn't recognize. And for days, they kept up this nocturnal journey. They traveled at night before he was finally left as a slave on a sugar plantation.
Did Clairvius claim that there were others just like him there?
Oh yeah, it was populated by zombies.
Okay.
When he said they called his soul,
Yes.
then they came and dug him up.
Correct.
And like his physical body was made forced to march.
Yes.
But he guess he wasn't still, was he still feeling in that like paralyzed state? Like his soul was separated from his body, or were like the things reunited then?
So this is where the mythology gets a little funky with the physical experiences. Because in Haitian mythology, like we talked about last time, they believe that your soul hangs out around the grave. That's the tibonage, hangs out around your grave for a couple of days. And a bokor, a sorcerer, can come along and capture that soul in a jar or in a bottle or something like that. And then they have you. And then they can reanimate your body, but it's soulless. And so I don't know that it's in Clairvius's vocabulary, like spiritual vocabulary, to even believe that once he's resurrected, he could have his soul again. I think that once his body came out of the ground, he was convinced that it was a soulless zombie, and that's what he was from now on. He was not a resurrected individual. He was a soulless husk because someone else had his soul. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Sort of, but he still had his consciousness.
Yes.
Like as himself. That's the piece that I think I'm struggling with. Is like, and maybe it's just like a spiritual difference, but in my head, like your soul is your consciousness, like the two are linked. So being conscious of yourself in your body, but like not having a soul, I'm not sure how that happens, but I'm getting way too in the weeds here. Let's continue to see what happens on the sugar plantation.
To that effect, I will say, he said that he was conscious, he could think and he could reflect, but he was in sort of a disconnected, dreamlike state. Like he felt completely out of control of his body and his facilities. He said,
I see.
Decision had no meaning and conscious action was an impossibility.
I see.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, so he was definitely altered in some way. Now, he was forced to work on that sugar plantation for 2 years, alongside many other zombies who all had suffered this same death and resurrection as himself, and they all had this, like, conscious disconnect that they felt like they weren't in their own bodies. They were fed, but they were forbidden from eating salt. Every day, they worked the fields in the heat. They were aware of the pain and like the muscle strain that they were under, but they were unable to do anything about it. Now, after 2 years of this labor, one of his companions had finally had enough. And that unnamed man mustered the courage to go on a hunger strike. For days, he didn't eat, and his slavers would beat him daily. But during one of these beatings, the man was able to snatch up a hoe and attacked his slaver and killed him. Narcisse claimed that freed the rest of the men because the man who died was a bokor, and they escaped into the surrounding country. And then Narcisse remained out of sight for 8 years.
He was probably scared that they would find him and bring him back or something. That makes sense.
Maybe.
The guy that his fellow zombie happened to kill was the one that was sort of like keeping the curse on them all. So then this adds another layer to it. Well, I guess it adds another layer because it doesn't sound like he wasn't a zombie anymore. Like he was still a zombie. Or did like the bokor have all their souls? And when they killed him, their souls like went back to their bodies?
Narcisse, and honestly, the residents believed that he was still a zombie. When Wade Davis interviewed Narcisse, he believed that he was still a zombie. He never got his soul back.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I just don't know how the guy had the presence of mind to go on a hunger strike if they don't have the ability to make decisions in the state that they're in.
I mean, I don't know what the answer to that is.
I could be looking for too much logic in this story.
It's interesting because you're going down sort of the right track, but in the wrong direction, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess so.
But you're close on the hunger strike thing, because the hunger strike was absolutely, I think, the reason that he was able to break free of his state, his
like
zombie state.
what they were feeding him perpetuated the state?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was going to say, EJ, because it doesn't make sense that zombies have to eat.
Yeah, that's true. That doesn't make
if
sense.
they're dead.
They eat brains.
But I guess they are still human beings that are functioning. So I guess they need fuel.
So again, this is it's a corpse, but you're still putting the corpse to work. It's literally just a body with no conscious soul as part of it. So it's almost like an automaton. You still need to give it the fuel in order to work, as opposed to our like Hollywood version of zombies where, I don't know, they eat a brain now and then, but mostly they just shamble
They're just
around.
undead. Yeah. No, okay, that makes sense. You have to think of it more, and I use this only as an analogy, not because I would ever think of a person like this, but it's more of like, the zombie is now a car. You have to put gas in it for it to go, or an electric car. You have to give it electricity for it to go, but it's not making decisions on its own.
Yes. Yeah.
At least not yet.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, just give Tesla a little bit more time.
Oh my God. I was in San Francisco kind of recently, and so experienced Waymos for the first time, and not just one of them. They're like everywhere in San Francisco. They're so fucking weird
Yeah.
and creepy. I would never get in one. I mean, I'm sure I'll eat my words like 20 years from now, but right now, fuck no.
What's a Waymo?
I'm not getting in that.
They're the fully
A Waymo.
What's a Waymo?
fully automated cars. So
Car.
self-driving. They're self-driving Ubers.
Self-driving
basically.
cars.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And they're everywhere.
There's-
And so they just have sensors on all sides of them and a camera. And like, that's how they drive.
I am not okay with this until all cars are self-driving. Like if all cars are that and then they can have like an integrated little hive mind where they can interact, I'm cool with it. But as long as there are some self-driving cars and some not self-driving cars, it fucking terrifies me.
Oh, and one of the things my friend was saying is that they're almost safer in some ways than people-driven cars because of all the sensors and stuff, and they just will stop, but they can't make logical decisions.
Right, yeah.
So, like, for example, if someone takes a taxi that's a Waymo, which that's what they are, all of them are taxis, but when it gets to your address, it just stops in the road so you can get out, like in front of your address. It doesn't, like a normal person, be like, oh, can I go like half a block forward and pull over
Yeah.
and get out of the way of traffic? No, doesn't
Wow,
have that.
that's not
It
smart enough.
Just
Okay.
stops.
Just like you're here.
That's
Yeah,
scary.
So,
you
like-
got to cross like 2 lanes of traffic, but hey, there it is.
Oh, no. It does pull over on the side of the road, like the lane closest to the sidewalk, but it doesn't get you out of traffic. Like it'll just stop. So then other cars, like if it's a 2-lane road or whatever, like other cars have to go around it or whatever
Yeah.
until it gets out of the way, because it doesn't just try to like pull over in a more convenient spot for everyone.
Yeah, I don't think we're there
Anyway.
yet. I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah. Or it will like think it's going to make a decision, but then it doesn't do it because like its sensor will detect something. So again, those like little snap sort of like logical decisions that you have to make when you're driving, the Waymo can't do that, doesn't do that. So like it sometimes actually causes chaos because you like think the Waymo's getting over, but then the Waymo doesn't get over. And like,
Great.
anyway.
It's horrifying.
We're off topic, but the point is, cars are not robots yet, and like the zombies, they do need fuel.
So the thing that Davis took away from all of this that was strange to him was the fact that Clairvius Narcisse disappeared from the plantation and then didn't come back for 8 years. Because you would think that after 2 years of slavery, daily, pining for his old life and his family, he would immediately try to reunite with them. So he had Rachel pose the question, why didn't you just go back to your family? And Narcisse explained that during his period of slavery, he did have time to think and reflect. And he said, before his zombification, he had owned a very valuable piece of land, which he had been farming for quite a while. His brother, Magrum, who knew a little of the voodoo rituals, had been very envious of this land and wanted it for himself. And as Clairvius reflected on all of this, he became convinced that his brother Magrum had cast a spell on him, causing him to fall ill and die. And then his spirit was captured and imprisoned, and he was sold into slavery so Magrum could get that land.
He didn't want to go get revenge on Magrum immediately?
No, he was afraid of him because he knew voodoo magic.
Okay. So did he wait until something had changed and then he went
Yeah,
back?
so he waited until Magrum died.
Okay.
And then he could come back.
Okay.
Despite all of their insistence, he denied that it was ever a poison that he ingested, though. He staunchly believed that he had been the victim of magical rituals. He said, the bokor sent for my soul. That's how it is done.
Wow.
And then after 8 years, he showed back up and met his sister. Now that his brother was dead, and I assume his land was safe, and he was safe as well.
Here's the thing, though. Sorry, my other question too, like EJ, I think I'm trying to force too much logic into this situation. So zombies can reflect then. on
Right.
their old life.
Apparently, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. There again, you kind of have your mind. You just don't have control over your body exactly. You have to do what they force you to do. And again, I think of kind of an altered, almost drug-addled state where you don't necessarily know what you're doing, but you can go couch lock, and have really, really deep thoughts about the cultural influence of the colors that are used in M&Ms or something like that. But your body is that is disconnected, So the thing is, when Narcisse got back, Angelina, his sister, and the town, they didn't welcome him with open arms. I mean, it seems like this would be kind of a tearful reunion, finding your long-lost relative, whatever, but the Haitians didn't see it that way. He was repeatedly harassed. Threats got so bad that the police actually had to intervene. He spent several days in jail for his own protection because people would attack him. To this day, well, he's not alive anymore, but up until his death, he still had to keep his head down around other people because they were so afraid of zombies.
And he thought he was a zombie till his death.
He did. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it ostracized him from his entire community, which I guess kind of makes sense. Like, they're victims of magic, unholy magic. They were theoretically soulless, like just kind of empty vessels walking through the streets. And so when he told people that, he ruined his reputation, he ruined his standing in the community, and he was forced to live with this for the rest of his life, or unlife.
He has very little to gain in my eyes doing this.
Seems that way, right? Yeah.
Maybe he didn't realize people would treat him that way. So he just came back because he was like, oh my God, you guys, what the fuck? This happened to me. And then everybody was like, what the fuck? Don't talk to me. And he was like, oh, oops.
Maybe.
I didn't think that this is how it is. I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, because if he knew it was going to ruin his reputation, why would he tell everyone?
Yeah, why come back at all at that point, right? You could just keep living somewhere else.
Yeah. And like, I want to know what happened to all the other zombies that were on the plantation with him. Like, Haiti isn't like, it's like a dense country. Like, there's a lot of like mountains and places to hide, but at the same time, it's not Russia, it's not China. Like, these guys got to go somewhere, and there's only so many places they can hide. It's
interesting because despite all of the research that I've ever read about this story, no one ever goes and tries to find a plantation owner that was killed in a worker uprising around, what would this be, 1966. There's nobody ever tries to do that. It's always focused on the aftermath of Clairvius Narcisse getting back. And I think that there's a good reason for that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later.
That seems like an obvious thing to go find. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The good reason for that is it's not real.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway.
I do suspect, yes.
So this whole account...
But I'm curious.
Yeah. This whole account left Davis, obviously, with more questions than answers. If Narcisse had been poisoned with datura, he should have been fed something by his brother Magrum. But allegedly, he claimed it was all magic. He had truly died. He'd been resurrected. His conviction was so absolute that Davis kind of took him at his word and was like, okay, let's go try to find more evidence. So Davis arranged a meeting with Narcisse's sister, Angelina. Now, she wasn't really eager to jump to Clairvius's defense. She explained that the brothers had been at odds for years, ever since Clairvius started doing well for himself financially. Magrum approached Clairvius and requested a pretty substantial loan of $20,000. But Clairvius refused, and they got in an argument so heated that they started fighting. Allegedly, Magrum attacked him with a log, and Clairvius ran away, throwing rocks at his brother. This whole argument was so bad that the police arrested them both and put them in jail to cool off overnight. This is all coming from his sister. And she wasn't coy about his extracurricular activities either, because apparently Clairvius was a bit of a ladies' man in the region, and he had had several children born out of wedlock to different women. He refused to pay child support for those kids, and instead he hoarded his money and spent it on himself. Like, he put a new tin roof on his house instead of distributing his money to the community that he had helped to sire. And that all left him with a black mark in town labeled selfish and arrogant.
Maybe people didn't talk to him when he got back, not because he was a zombie, but because they're all like, this motherfucker's back. We don't like him.
Yeah, we thought this dude was gone, and now he's come back. Right.
Yeah.
Wait, so when it comes to my own experience, child support payments for us ended at 18 years old. Mm-hmm. Do you think he was waiting for the child support payments to end before he came back?
So I use child support in kind of a colloquial.
Oh, okay.
I don't know anything about legal child support in Haiti in the 1960s
okay.
and 70s.
Damn it, Matt. You really didn't do your research.
I just know that he had some kids and he wasn't paying for them. There might be legal repercussions behind that, or it might just be a social thing like, hey, you should be buying clothes for these kids because they're your kids. I don't know.
That is one way to get out of
possible.
child support payments, though. Say that you were a zombie. And...
Yeah. You fake your own death. You say, I've been a zombie. Sorry, zombies can't pay child support. My bad.
They cannot. Nope. Fact.
So while Clairvius believed that Magrum had been the agent of his zombification, Angelina was convinced that it was one of his mistresses. And she thought that they were fed up with his refusal to pay, and that mistress had contacted a bokor who had taken care of him, turned him into a zombie, sold him into slave labor. So if you take all these stories at face value, it seems Clairvius not exactly a local hero, right?
He had some enemies.
Yeah. Could have fallen victim to his brother's magic in a scheme, or his death and zombification could be a revenge plot by a scorned woman. Either way, Angelina and the town didn't really know what to do with him, zombie or not. So they offered him some money on the condition that he leave and never come back. And that's why Wade Davis found Clairvius living at the mission out of town, very far from the large property and the luxurious home he had had before he was a zombie. Now, Davis's second interview was with Francina Ilias, or T-Femme, the small zombie woman. She had been found wandering the markets in Ennery in northern Haiti. An American missionary nun named J. Osherman came to her aid. That was the same missionary that was keeping Clairvius Narcisse today. At the time, Ilias was catatonic, squatting in the market with her hands over her face. Her mother confirmed her identity, matched a scar on her to a scar that her daughter had. Osherman tried to nurse Ilias back to health, and Duyan investigated these events. As we talked about, he dug up her grave, found it full of rocks, mimicking weight of a human body. This whole story is very, very similar to Clairvius's, down to the matching scars. Rachel, his teenage translator, took to the streets to try to find more about Ilias and her life, and if there was anything about her condition that might have led to this zombification, the same as Clairvius. The prevailing narrative here was that she had been part of an arranged marriage, which she rejected. She had a child out of wedlock, which pissed off her arranged husband, who was allegedly a bokor. He cast a spell on her, turned her into a zombie, made her his bride. And after putting her in that state, he switched her body for rocks, sealed her coffin, kept her hidden away as a zombie bride, and that was the situation for 3 years until she escaped. This is all kind of what we talked about.
Okay, so it wasn't just that she rejected him, because earlier you had said that her mom wanted her to have this marriage and she rejected it, and then he basically made her into a zombie. But she also had a kid.
Yeah, she had a kid out of wedlock. Yep.
Okay. With Clairvius? Just now.
No, that'd be quite a coincidence.
It's all connected.
But as they continued to probe, talk to these locals, more details came to the surface. One person said, she was mean. She was doing things she shouldn't have done. And she didn't like people. She swore at people for no reason. Here, they kill people for almost nothing. See, apparently, in her old life, she sold cornmeal at a market. And the locals said she was rude to her patrons. She would steal their money when they weren't looking. And if she couldn't get it discreetly, she would like raise her prices for you. Stocks that cost 5 gourds one day would cost 7 the next, depending on what kind of financial strain she was currently under. So she was also kind of this social outcast, right? Davis returned to Max Beauvoir, the biochemist, bokor, and father of his teenage translator. To Beauvoir, the situation was beginning to become clear. These two people they shared these social stigmas. They had crossed their families. They were ostracized from society before they became zombies. They were, in his words, hated by their communities. All of this is leading Davis down a very particular thought, right? That zombification is a real provable science that gets dealt out almost as a punishment to certain people. So he believed that Ilias and Narcisse had been poisoned with a very powerful neurotoxin that caused a death-like state. And after they had been declared dead, their bodies had been dug up or switched, and they'd been put into their own respective labors, physical for Narcisse and domestic for Ilias. And they had been kept drugged during this duration to give them this like altered consciousness zombie state until they were finally able to make their escape. So this is the thought that he's at now. This is what he's trying to prove.
I don't hate it. Out of all of it's the least like paranormal thing he could have come up with, right?
Yeah.
Which is that basically these people are being drugged into submission as a punishment for not fitting into society in the ways that their communities wanted them to. I still just don't understand the death part of it. Like getting someone to almost die but not be dead, and then like basically making them drug addicts. Like, I don't know.
Well, let's get into that. So Beauvoir agreed to accompany Davis to interrogate Marcel Pierre. You might remember him. He was the bar owner who claimed that he could make a zombie poison, but the poison he gave was completely ineffective, right? Davis hoped that if they showed up and he brought a real bokor, a real biochemist, they would be able to persuade this guy, you got to make poison for real for me. Pierre was used to dealing with more credulous customers, not an ethnobotanist and a biochemist who might really know things about like the chemical compounds of things. He was used to people who were just kind of take him at face value, right? And remember, at this point, the vast majority of research into zombies came from the idea that this was a magic ritual. Davis is the first researcher who believed, even more so after these interviews, that there was a real chemical cocktail at work here. It's not magical. It's not metaphysical. This is the zombie. It is a creature created from the proper application of toxins. They confronted Pierre the Hungan and they said to him, your zombie powder didn't work. And Pierre said, no, it totally works. Anyone who takes that poison will die eventually. And
Everybody dies eventually.
Exactly. Exactly. Obviously.
Eventually.
He was hoping that you would take the powder and then something would happen and they would say, oh my God, the zombie powder worked. But Davis refused to be convinced. And he said, look, I know what you're doing, but I have very wealthy backers from the States. They will pay you thousands of dollars for zombie powder. If you give me zombie powder, I swear we will get you money. And Pierre agreed again, but said, come back tomorrow night alone. And that night, under the cover of darkness, Wade Davis and Pierre dug up a coffin of a recently deceased young girl. They wrapped it in cloth to allay suspicions, and they brought it back to Pierre's bar, where they opened it and they removed the skull. And using freshly ground bone fragments, they made zombie poison.
Is Wade Davis doing this because he's like, well, if I'm not there to see it, it didn't really happen? Like, dude, what?
He didn't want to get a powder. He wanted to see what actually went into it. He wants the recipe.
He's willing to commit crimes for it.
And remember,
I know.
remember, this is the guy who got attacked by a jaguar, right? Like this is the guy he's something of a gonzo ethnobotanist. So he doesn't like half-ass this shit. He is there to find out exactly how you make it in the exact, compounds, proportions, everything. He wants to be involved.
He's like an Indiana Jones.
Sort of. Sort of.
Sort of. Oh, okay.
All right. So here you go. We've spent so much time leading up to this, but listeners, finally, here's your recipe for zombie powder. Ready? Prepare a poisonous cane toad by wrapping a bristle worm around its leg for a day. This agitates the toad and increases its poison potency. Then you kill the toad, and you add to this 2 freshly dead blue lizards and a pufferfish, and you roast that on a grill with bone shavings from human and canine skulls until everything reaches an oily consistency. Then you grind the fish, lizards, and toads in a mortar, and you add charred bone fragments and grind that into a fine powder. You finish that with lebbek and itching pea. And that's your zombie poison. Now, as an antidote to the zombie poison, you grind the following into a powder with a little bit of rock salt. Aloe, the resin from a guayacum tree, Spanish cedar, Jamaican caper, sea torchwood, and caper bush. You add 10 crushed mothballs, a cup of seawater, a splash of grain alcohol, a bottle of perfume, and a 1/4 liter of, quote, black magic solution from your local apothecary. You finish that with colorful talc, ground match heads, and sulfur powder. Both of these you want to let rest in a coffin underground for 3 days. And that's your poison and your antidote. You seem skeptical.
The poison, I'm a little bit closer to being like, okay, that sounds like a poison, right? Mm-hmm. You've got things in there that are poisonous. You roast them, you dry them, you grind them up, you have a powder. Okay. The antidote started out, okay, salt, aloe. Okay, yep. I don't know how that's helping a poison, but all right. But then you start getting into the weird shit, like the black magic whatever to whatever, and the like other thing that you're like, who knows what's in that? And also, then you're like, put it in the ground for 3 days. Like, does it have to be in the grave, or is it the idea that it needs to like rest in a cold spot, like a cellar, because it needs to whatever? I don't know. The antidote started to get me back off track.
Well,
the poison, I was like, okay, that sounds like poison.
Well, the antidote sounds like it belongs in like a Bath and Body Works or something, or a Goop. Like you,
there is you do get Spanish cedar,
sounds
Jamaican
lovely.
Caper.
I can see a lot of like girls lining up outside to buy that, like at the Lush store or something. Like, yeah,
exactly. A bottle of perfume. Why?
Yeah,
like.
Although
what kind of perfume?
I would say the salt plays into it quite a bit, though, because it probably sets them straight, right? Like
that's the idea.
Takes them out of it. You don't need the other stuff. Just put the salt. Just shove salt in their mouth.
It's the salt, because they said they couldn't have food with salt in it. But why is the salt clearing you up like that?
So with any good dish, like if you watch The Bear, I don't know if you watch no, of course you don't watch The Bear, Katie, because you only watch Gilmore Girls. But if you watch The Bear or something like that, there's always a certain presentation that you have for any dish that you serve. The poison that you can administer orally, or you can administer it topically. Pierre said you could put it inside someone's shoe, or on the outside of a glass, something that they touch. And he even said, be careful if you put it on someone's entryway to their house or something like that, because you could actually poison everyone inside if they all touch it. Now, the antidote does have a special presentation, and that is to be given orally with a paste made from datura, the zombie cucumber, the hallucinogenic plant.
The antidote.
Right. Is given with zombie cucumber, the hallucinogenic plant.
Okay.
Sounds like you're just furthering the state and not fixing it.
Wade Davis believed that he had truly found zombie powder. He, as an ethnobotanist, believed that all of this would work. And so he only had one final step. He collected as many of the ingredients as he could find on their own. Taking care to preserve them, he brought everything back to Cambridge because it was the 80s and you could still board a plane with a suitcase full of random fucking powders and a toad in a bottle of alcohol.
Yes. Instead of today, we're like, we bought some like barbecue rub from like a Nashville Chattanooga like market. Chattanooga Farmers Market, by the way, is amazing.
Yes.
Anyway,
Oh, wow.
we bought some. We brought it, and the guy, the fucking TSA guy, took it out. I swear to God, I thought we were all gonna get arrested.
It was just a bottle of spices, and he like dug through my bag and pulled this thing out, and then he had like a
Ran a
wand
thing.
that he was like using on it, and I was like, dude.
And then he fucking tapes it up so that like it can never get out ever. Because you never know what that rub is gonna do.
Yeah.
So he
Oh my
cleared it and then
God.
taped it the fuck up.
Meanwhile, Wade Davis is over here like, yeah, oh yeah, that's a poisonous toad. And you're like, and then, literally.
Like, okay. Oh, man. And that was like we're coming back and you were checking your bag?
Yeah, coming back into America. He actually said the customs agent like looked at the ingredients and then just closed up his suitcase and said, I don't want to know.
Wow.
Oh, Wade Davis said that?
Yeah.
Different times.
For real. Yeah.
Different times. Okay.
Okay. So back at the college, Davis passed all of these things, the poison, all the collected ingredients to the botany and the zoology departments. The cane toad, no surprise, was a highly toxic toad. Its secretions in high doses could cause death in a matter of minutes. Lower doses could produce hallucinations. Some researchers even claimed that early tribes like the Olmec would use them for their religious vision quests. But the real smoking gun across all of this wasn't any of the plants or anything like that. It was the fish. Spiroides oh man.
Uh-oh.
Actually, let's not even try.
No.
What is it? Let me see.
It's the scientific name. We're not going to bother with the scientific name. It's obviously too hard for me to pronounce. It is the checkered pufferfish.
Is that the same as the fugu fish?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, that's the fugu fish, one of the most poisonous animals in the world.
In the world, really?
In the world.
Oh.
The fugu is so poisonous that a lethal dose of fugu poison is enough to coat the head of a pin, just on the head of a pin, 500 times more powerful than cyanide.
It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's a delicacy.
Yes.
I was reading a little bit about like pufferfish poison. There's four levels of it, but like the very first level only really gives you like pins and needles and like a very vague numbness in your mouth. And it sounds like, because I guess they're presuming, since the way that most people encounter a pufferfish is they try to eat it,
Right.
It would just mean there was like a little tiny bit in the fish. And it would have to be just the tracest amounts then, if like enough to coat the head of a pin would kill you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, remember that it's also like all mixed up in this other stuff too. We had all the other powders and things and all of that. But you're right. It would have to be exacting amounts. The toxicity of the pufferfish, I think this is kind of cool. It comes from the diet of the fish. It feeds on bacteria that's laden with tetrodotoxin. Because it eats the tetrodotoxin, much like the Princess Bride, it becomes immune to it over time. The fish does. But any creature that eats the pufferfish ingests the tetrodotoxin and risks potential death.
Including humans.
I
also read that that is a theory, but there's another theory that the fugu's toxicity is produced by poison glands beneath its skin.
Oh, I didn't read that.
So I mean, honestly, like I think the jury is out. I don't know if Katie, you read anything differently, but I think there's a couple thoughts on how they are poisonous.
That's interesting because I was under the impression that the fugu that you get in most restaurants is farm raised, and it is specifically farm raised because it's not exposed to the diet that has tetrodotoxin in it, and that's why it's safe.
I was reading a paper on like the Department of Health's website or something about pufferfish, and I didn't get through the whole thing. But one thing that it did say is that the toxin is a lot less in pufferfish. So to EG's point, I think they're not quite sure because the farm-raised fish do have the toxin, but just at a much, much, much lower level. So they think that it can naturally produce it.
Oh, wow.
But then if they feed it,
it gets
the thing,
so much more
then
potent.
then it will build up.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
they think it might be like it might produce it naturally, but like at way lower levels, and that also might be why it's immune, because it produces it within itself or something like that.
Interesting.
It was like one paragraph in a paper, so
Okay. Yeah.
way above my like pay grade in terms of understanding. I don't know anything about biology.
EJ, would you eat puff? Well, you're
Good question.
you're vegan now.
I mean,
so.
vegan is a little intense to call me. I would say I'm plant-based.
Okay. You're plant-based now. So,
Yeah.
but would you eat pufferfish, EJ?
I was thinking about this because apparently it's like the most amazing tasting fish, like especially if you eat around, I think it's the liver part of the fish or whatever, because that's the most poisonous part, but it's also the most delicious part. I don't know. It's nature for you. But I would not. I don't care if it's the most delicious thing in the entire world. I'd never, even before I stopped eating fish, I would not eat a fugu fish.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
I wouldn't do it.
Even if you knew it was prepared by like the most talented person.
Don't care.
No.
They can mess
I don't
up.
think
Humans
so.
are
I don't.
fallible.
Yeah.
What about you, Katie?
No, I think I'm with you. I don't think I just don't care enough. Like
Yeah.
I'm not adventurous in that sense. You know how like some people are just like adventurous in different ways, and like one of those ways is to just be like, that's really scary, I'm gonna do it. Like for example, skydiving or bungee jumping. I have no desire
Same.
to do either of those things. I'm like, it does look cool. I'm not saying it doesn't look cool, but I'm just like, I'm fine. Yeah, I don't need to do that. I don't need to introduce that level of risk into my life.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm kind of like what you said with the fish. Like, I just don't care. Like, I agree with you about jumping out of a plane. I'm like, I just don't care. Like, I don't need to. I hate planes, so I'd hate to get up on the plane. And then B, just the idea of falling from the sky does not sound fun to me or interesting or awesome, like an achievement. Like, and same with and like I kind of don't like food. I think food is like a burden that I have to like have in my life in order to survive. So like the idea of like risking my life to taste something seems absolutely ridiculous. Because like if I had my way, I would just eat like the most basic bland stuff just to survive my whole life. But I don't know.
That's really funny. I don't want to get us too off track, but I find that really interesting because I'm like the opposite. I love food, like, and I associate a lot of really great things with it. But I will say one way that I feel that I'm like that is sushi. I like sushi. I think it's good. But like one time during the pandemic, Alex and I got sushi from like this insanely good sushi place, like so expensive. And I was just like, okay.
It was just okay.
Like, obviously it was better than your run-of-the-mill sushi that you normally get. But I just, my enjoyment or my taste distinction was not good enough that I was just like, I don't think it's worth it for me to do this ever again.
No, I get
Good for you being honest
I
about it.
understand that though.
Yeah.
You know, if you can get a $6 tuna roll, or you can get like a $16 tuna roll, and
Or a $60 tuna roll.
Sure, yeah. And there is, I guess, a difference, but I do sort of feel like there eventually are diminishing returns to that. You know,
I think I also just don't like raw fish that much.
oh well, maybe that's part of it too.
That is definitely a thing.
But I kind of feel the same way about like super expensive alcohol, where I'll enjoy a more expensive alcohol or something like that. But if you were to open a, I don't know, $1,000 bottle of wine and have me taste that next to $100 bottle of wine, I don't think that there's a percentage
tell the
difference to me to justify that.
And because of that, we will all not die of a fugu fish poisoning.
Yeah. Well, it makes me think a little bit, because I was talking to some friends over the weekend who had done the one chip challenge. You know this, that they're like super, super spicy. It's like a chip that's spiced with ghost pepper, and you just get one chip. It actually killed the kid. There was like an a kid who was under 18 who tried it and died, and I think they actually had a previous medical condition, but it was a big deal. Anyway, so I had friends who did the one chip challenge and said it was awful, and they went out and they threw up and stuff. And I'm like, I like spicy food, but not to that level, man. I don't want to put myself in physical discomfort while eating spicy food. Like, that just doesn't sound like a good way to spend my time.
No, and I've also heard, like, with the spicy peppers, like, if you do actually have good spicy pepper, like, the heat does have a certain flavor to it,
sure.
I think.
Yeah.
But, like, for me, once you get past a certain level of heat, like, that's all I'm tasting is the heat. Mm-hmm. And, like, if I'm going to eat the food, I want to taste the food,
right.
Like the other stuff that's in there, not just like have my whole body filled with heat, which is like for me what happens if I get too spicy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so symptoms of pufferfish poisoning. We talked a little bit about this, Katie. Mild pufferfish poisoning can include tingling of the lips, decreased blood pressure, ultimately leading to paralysis. That paralysis includes your diaphragm, which means that the victim typically stops breathing. If you survive that, you are likely in a coma for several days. In other words, symptoms of non-fatal pufferfish poisoning actually do mimic a death-like state. This was it. This was the zombie poison ingredient that Wade Davis had been searching for. You use pufferfish poison to put the victim into a catatonic trance, stop their breathing. You get a days-long coma. But it's only half of the equation that makes a zombie. Because when they're awakened, the victims were dosed with the, quote, antidote, right? Now, Davis and his contemporaries noted that there was nothing in the antidote that would counteract the toxins in the pufferfish poisoning. You actually can't do that. There's no medical intervention for pufferfish poisoning. The only treatment is stabilize the victim, let the poison naturally get flushed out of their system. But the antidote was a hallucinogenic drug, one made from datura, the zombie cucumber. This snapped this previously catatonic person back to, quote, life, and left them in a state of extreme mental unease. So think about this. After the trauma of a near-death experience, complete with you being buried in your own grave, you were subjected to an altered consciousness as your first experience back in the world. No wonder these people thought they were zombies.
They're just being tricked into thinking they're zombies. And then, see, now I'm coming around. Maybe this is real. But real in the fact that, like, no, because that actually makes sense if you basically are playing a psychological trick on someone. It then makes sense that the zombie is still feeling all the physical pain and muscle strain of working because they never actually died. They are a live human being doing all the physical pain and working. They still can reflect on things because they never died. They're still alive. Mm-hmm. But they feel they've been put into they're part of this like psychological trick now, and they're consistently imbibing a hallucinogenic drug. So of course they don't feel like totally themselves because the world is crazy. And otherwise they're basically like a Theon Greyjoy. Like they basically just decided that they don't have free will anymore or something. Like that's what I'm wondering if that's really what's happening.
And remember what you said, Katie, when we were talking about T-Femme, Francina Ilias, that it seemed like she was a drug addict, right? Well, datura can even cause permanent brain damage, resulting in kind of a true zombie state. And Davis concluded that's what happened to her. She was overdosed on the antidote, and so She experienced essentially what happened when you overdose on too many hallucinogens for too long. And she had ended up in a permanent state of cognitive disability. By Davis's own examination, Clairvius Narcisse shared 21 or virtually all of the prominent symptoms documented in known cases of tetrodotoxin poisoning.
When he died, you mean? When he died?
Yes, when he died. And reading up on poisoning cases in Japanese medical texts provided even further evidence. There were accounts of fishmongers who appeared to have died only to come back to life several days later. While in these death states, they actually maintained their faculties and remembered trips to the hospital, but they were completely paralyzed during these ordeals.
God, I wonder how many people, because I read that the puffer fish was eaten back in like the Jomon period, like we're talking like 10,000 years ago or something, like a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people were did not die and were buried alive because of this.
It's horrifying to think about, right? Yeah, I found this account. A man from Yamaguchi suffered from fugu poisoning at Osaka. It was thought that he was dead, and his body was actually sent to a crematorium in Shinichi. And as the body was being removed from the cart to be cremated, the man recovered and walked home. And he remembered everything about the process. He remembered the trip to the fucking crematorium.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
That's a nightmare.
That's horrifying, right?
He was probably like, wake up, wake up, wake up. Like trying to get his body to like process things.
Yeah.
Move your big toe.
Wow. It basically makes you like, what's that disease that the diving bell and the butterfly guy had? Where you like become completely immobile except for like, you're basically trapped in your own body.
Locked-in syndrome?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just called locked-in
Is it just called locked-in syndrome?
Well, probably not just.
I think so.
It's probably
That's
more
what the
mental.
guy from the diving bell and the butterfly had, though, right?
I've never heard of the diving bell and the butterfly. That's...
Oh, it's a book. He wrote a book by blinking.
Oh, my God.
And
Yeah.
and they made it into a movie that's really good, like back in the mid 2000s.
Holy
But yeah, he had locked-in syndrome, but for a long time
Yeah.
they just thought those people were in comas and like people wouldn't interact with them at all, but they were like fully conscious.
I read one account of a guy who had locked-in syndrome, and everybody thought that his cognition was of a child, so they played Barney on repeat all day long, and
no.
he had to fucking watch
Oh,
it
no.
until he finally got the chance. He finally was able to get the attention of like one of his caregivers, and they were like, "Oh no, you're actually like all there, aren't you?" And they like, it completely changed his life. I mean, he's still locked in, but he was able to, I think he was able to write a book, and I think he even might have gotten married. I have no idea, but he was just like, they fucking tortured him with Barney. And
It's not funny, but it's a horrifying.
yeah,
That's horrifying.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's like, no, I do not have the cognition of a child. I'm a fully functioning human adult. I just cannot move at all.
yeah, insult to injury.
It's
for
like,
sure.
yeah, it's torture.
Yeah.
That's like psychological
Yeah.
torture that they give to people. Holy shit.
Oh, man.
The other interesting thing about all of this is, so he sent a sample of the poison to the New York State Psychiatric Institute, and they tested it on a lab rat. And not only did they confirm his theory, but they also proved that the compound produced analgesic results too. So the rats, once rendered paralyzed and in this death state, didn't respond to pain at all, like needle pricks. So they, the scientists, not the rats, concluded that the comatose patients were also immune to pain. But the rats still showed normal brain function like EKGs. So not only you stop breathing, you're completely paralyzed, you don't feel pain, but your brain is still completely functional. After all of this, Davis realized he needed more information on how this shit happened. Because he had the powder, he had the compound. He knew that it was potentially real, but he had to learn, okay, What what's the process between this dude's an outcast, we want to punish him, now he's a zombie, right? Like how does that happen in between? So he returned to Haiti, this time to meet with someone named Gerard Simon in Hungen. Simone ran a very loose network of voodoo practitioners who were actually more powerful than Davis initially realized. Up until this point, this whole story seems like vengeance that's been wrought by a scorned lover or a brother or, an ex-husband, something like that, right? Working independently, these people concocted poisons in secret. They dealt with their enemies and, in turn, paved the way for their own intentions. Magrum got his brother's land. Francina Ilias got to keep her as a concubine, and everybody moves on, right? But as Davis dug deeper, he realized that there were more than just a couple Mambos or Bokors working independently. There was an entire network of voodoo practitioners operating in secret, and they held a terrifying amount of power and influence over the government of Haiti. And it's with the story of Haitian secret societies and the stories of zombification that continue to this day that we will conclude our tale next time.
Oh, so the Illuminati. The
Yes.
The
Haitian
Illuminati of Haiti.
The voodoo Illuminati of Haiti. Yeah, that's where we're going next time.
Illuminati zombies,
Right.
which apparently are happening on Haiti.
Oh, yeah. But so, Katie, did I convince you that a pharmacological zombie is a real possibility?
You did.
Okay.
I don't want to say completely, but like I was fully on the like, oh my God, like, okay, fine. Mm-hmm. I mean, I love a good tale of a potion and a witchcraft, but I was like, I don't think that this is real, because I think I really was thinking about it in terms of like how we think about zombies, that these people had actually died in some sense and like were being resurrected somehow. Would I say I'm 100% there? No. But do I think that it's possible that this is what's happening, especially if he did all that research into like pufferfish poisoning? It sounds a lot more convincing than it used to. What about you, EJ?
Yeah, I think it's convincing if it all works perfectly well. Like if there are no mistakes.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
must be murdering a lot of people too,
Yes.
right? Though, because I feel like a lot of these people are just dying from pufferfish poisoning.
I suspect that. They get the dosage wrong or something.
and remember, the dude who made this, like, he was a bar owner. They dug up a dead body and, like, dragged the coffin into his bar and cut out the skull from the recently dead body. Like, there's no way that he was that exacting in his measurements, So, yeah, I think that there's probably a lot of error that happens around all of this.
Well, also speaking of error, you can also see the error on the flip side. The person didn't die,
Right.
but Clairvius and Isme, so what's that name? Ilias and Clairvius, like the results of the two of them. Clairvius was just like, he had light symptoms from being overdosed on this drug for so long, right? So maybe he didn't have like, truly permanent brain damage, but he was still feeling like a little bit messed up from doing this drug for so long. Whereas this other woman, like,
She was gone.
completely like OD'd on it. Mm-hmm. So she was permanently in this like extremely altered state. So you can see the error on the other side too. The world is a really wild place, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild out there. Everybody be careful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this wild ride in this wild world. And next time we will be concluding our story of the Haitian zombies.
Awesome.
Woohoo! Don't eat pufferfish.
Don't
Yeah.
eat. Well, I mean, do it if you feel like you should, but definitely be careful because we're not doing it.
Just be aware. It is scary.
If you have had pufferfish and you want to give us a review, slayingmonsterspodcast@gmail.com.
Review
I would
your
love to know.
pufferfish.
I would love to know what pufferfish is actually like if you've had it. And is it worth it? Is it worth the cost and the risk, or is that part of it?
I think that is part of it. Because people actually, I had read that people in Japan don't really want it if it's not toxic. The fun and the thrill is the risk.
Weird.
So
Weird. Not for me.
let us know if you've had it.
Let us know. slayingmonsterspodcast@gmail.com. And until next time, be safe out there.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Slaying Monsters, the 40 in History podcast. If you like the podcast, there's a couple ways you can show your support. You can tell your friends, you can leave us a rating and review on your podcast platform, or you can head over to slayingmonsterspodcast.com and click on the Support Us button to leave a donation. For questions, suggestions, and other feedback, reach out to us, slayingmonsterspodcast@gmail.com, and stay up to date by following us on socials at Slaying Monsters Podcast. Your support helps us grow, and we are truly grateful to have our listeners and community.